When I tell you, I hope these stuntmen got the payday of their life. Like, they better have been motherfucking paid, because this ish was phenomenal. The John Wick franchise has set the standard and raised the bar. And for me personally, the best action movies in the last 10 years outside of Mission Impossible. Like, Mission Impossible and freaking John Wick are keeping action movies motherfreaking thriving and alive, and showing you this is how it is done. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I am so excited to talk about the new John Wick movie, John Wick Chapter 4. Motherfucking Keanu Reeves and crew are all back, and this time in the 4th installment, John is out to defeat the High Table and gain his freedom again, because he had his freedom, and then child. Now, I honestly walked into this movie high expectations, so excited. I had no doubt in my mind that this would be a thoroughly entertaining, enjoyable film. I absolutely love the first 3 John Wick movies, and this is one of those franchises where each movie for me just gets better and better. They just up the ante every single time. It has been this long-standing, thing in movies that sequels never live up to the original, and even if they are good quality, they just never live up to the original. But for me, with the John Wick franchise, each movie just seems to come in and just bring us just new, awe-inspiring, amazing movies. Now, for John Wick Chapter 4, it felt a little daunting because the movie is 3 hours. But when I tell you, child, other than I start getting hungry in the movie theater, you honestly do not feel the runtime. And I absolutely love movies where, number one, they utilize their runtime appropriately, and number two, you don't actually feel the runtime. This movie is fast-paced. There's such momentum. Every movie, there is this continuous momentum that just builds and builds. It never slacks, and that is one of the reasons why you do not feel this runtime. There is consistently things happening. There's consistently movement, characters, arcs. It's so entertaining, so well done. Now, as you know, with John Wick Chapter 3, John ended up falling off the dang roof, child. I'd have been dead. But Winston shot him in order to appease the High Table and get his, hotel back, the Continental. Now, in Chapter 4, John, we saw him with the Bowery King. Are you mad, John? Yeah. With Chapter 3. And he has, got his health back, mended his wounds. Do you mend the wounds? Whatever, child. Healed his wounds. And one gripe I have is at the start of this movie, and there are things that are kind of rehashed from part 3 that I felt like we really didn't need to. For example, at the top of this film, John goes out to the desert and he seeks the elder. And remember, he did that in 3 with Halle Berry's character Sophia taking him to the guy from Game of Thrones so that he could go meet with the elder. Now, this time he's out in the desert. He goes to the elder. It's a different elder this time. And he pretty much tells John, killing me is actually pointless. It won't do anything. You will still have the bounty. There will still be all the issues that you have. John kills him anyway. And honestly, this was as pointless as the elder said it would be. I have no idea why we had to go out into the desert again. I don't know why we rehashed this. And honestly, if you edit this out of the movie, it really makes no difference. It felt like there really was no point to this other than repercussions for the people around John. Now, they end up, one thing that I absolutely love about the John Wick universe, and the reason why I know that I am not too critical and hard on movies when it comes to how much I be hating the characters that writers create, is that the John Wick universe creates some of the greatest characters, I mean, I cannot think of one single character in chapter 4 that I'm like, man, I don't like that character. That character was boring, lackluster, terrible. Writing for that character, literally not one. All of the characters are super amazing. One of my favorites is our main villain, the Marquis, played by that, who is he? Bill Skarsgård? A lot of them Skarsgård's child. No, this ain't Alexander. Alexander was in that Northman movie. This is Bill. I want to say this is Bill, the one from Barbarian. Now, he plays the Marquis, and he is pretty much the representative for the table. He's here to get John Wick finally. Now, he was freaking brilliant, and I know I'm in the minority, but I did not care for the movie Barbarian, and I actually felt like his character, him in general, was very boring and blah in that movie. But in this movie, he has so much charisma, so much screen presence, such a dynamic character. And one thing that I love about this movie is the visuals. For one, the suits that his character was wearing, like, baby, he was dressing down. He was dressing. It was so amazing. And this, for me, was a hard character to pull off as far as getting the audience to actually engage with the character in like a likable way, because this character is a-hole. He's extremely arrogant, and he kills one of our beloved characters, but you kind of like this guy. Now, he pretty much goes to Winston. They condemn his Continental. Baby, they give Winston like an hour. And all the gas. You got like an hour. And see, this be making me mad. Because John Wick be effing up stuff for everybody. Because if I'm just a regular old person under the table and I'm up in the Continental seeking sanctuary, now I got to get the hell up out of Dodge City. And I could likely get killed because this is the only place where you can't kill nobody. So now I'm asked out because of you, John. But it really is Reek fault. All the way around to chapter 1. Really, we're going to blame everything on Reek. Now, I felt like this, and it has nothing to do with the actual execution in the movie, just the real life events. It was kind of uneasy and odd for me to see a death scene with Lance Riddick, rest in peace to him, because he did just pass away in real life. It felt kind of icky. It felt kind of odd, but Winston and what is that guy called? Shit. Concierge. But Winston and his concierge go and meet with the Marquis. And I turned to my mama and I was like, hold on now, why he here? Like, you don't need to be here, bro. But when I want to say, if I remember correctly, Winston ends up saying the same thing, but he wants to stay, and they end up having a conversation, and pretty much everybody who has aided or helped or an associate of John Wick, the table is coming for you, child. The table is coming for you if you have any type of connection to John Wick. He is, when I tell y'all, he is cursed. Like, he be bringing all types of mayhem and chaos to folks. It's crazy, but we're going to get into that. I mean, he done already brought mayhem and chaos to folks in the previous 3, but yeah, he finna really bring it in this one. So they end up condemning Winston's hotel, his Continental, and he has this hourglass, and the Marquis, you feel like he kind of wasting time letting that sand run out of the hourglass. Baby, they freaking blow up. See, this is different from chapter 3 when that girl came in there shutting down the Continental. Baby, they ain't blow that mug up. This time, they like, nah, bitch, we blowing it up. It's condemned, and ain't no fighting for your Continental like you did in the other movie. It's rubble now. It is literal rubble. So the Marquis ends up pulling out a gun, and it's kind of a tense moment. But he doesn't even go for Winston. He's like, well, you don't have a hotel anymore, so you don't need a concierge, and kills Lance Riddick's character. I don't like the fact, well, I guess I'm going to say I don't like, but I guess I would have liked for him to have a bigger role, because he is a pretty, like, fan favorite for me personally. I really enjoy him in these movies, and he had a very, very minuscule part. He pretty much dies right at the beginning. Bittersweet moment, just in general, because I like that character. But like I said, it was also kind of sad because he did just pass away in real life. Now, this guy, the Marquis, child, when I tell you, kicking ass and taking names. So pretty much the big thing with this table, and even with this fourth film, there is still this big like shroud of mystery surrounding the high table. We get, you know, at first, as the John Wick franchise goes, we get more and more into this world, into the characters, into the rules. However, even 4 movies in, we still have this huge mystery surrounding the high table and everyone at the high table. Now, they pretty much feel like they have to take out John because he has stood against the table. And we can't let this be an example for other people to try and come at us. You know, everything happens, as they have said in the franchise, everything happens under the table. Nobody is above the table. No man exists outside the rules except for John Wick, child. So we got to take him and his folk out. Now, every single solitary box is checked in this movie. Everything is literally top tier, but I got a few gripes. One gripe for me is the actual John Wick character, and the fact that John Wick is our main character, right? But he is the character that we hear the least from. All of our scenes are pretty much all the other characters talking at John Wick, and John Wick just giving one word or one line. I'm gonna need a gun. Yeah. Like, I'm like, what? And it felt very odd to me every time it would happen. I was just like there's a scene with, what was the blind guy's name? Kane. There's a scene with Kane and John in the church, and Kane is like talking. Great scene. Amazing. The movie has some amazing dialogue. One thing that stood out for me was the line where I think it was Winston's character who says that friendship means little when it's convenient. There were a lot of great dialogue. This movie is very well written, in my opinion, and the scene in the church with Kane, his lines were great, and John just, yeah, like, I'm just saying, like, yo, what are y'all doing? Like, what is going on? And it feels like as the franchise continues, I feel like they keep giving Keanu Reeves less and less lines, child. Like, we are at the point now where his character pretty much does nothing but kick ass and take names, which is fine. And he does it well, above well, way better than well. He does it amazingly, but this character is becoming just like a shell of a character, kind of like he might as well just be the Terminator now. Like, there are no real progressions for his character. He is literally just at the point of he just fights. He don't really say nothing. Another issue that I have with this film, for me personally, narratively, obviously we have a pretty simple setup, a pretty simple objective and goal. John Wick has to defeat the table, gain his freedom, get out the game again. However, for me, I won't say the story is complicated, because it's not. It's very easy to follow. It's, like I just said, it's a very simple narrative. However, it felt a little too convoluted in my personal opinion. So basically, it felt like John Wick was going through completing a bunch of different tasks. He had to go out to the desert for the elder. He has to, he go to the hotel where his Japanese friend is at for shelter. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I think they were in Japan and I think they were Japanese. But he goes to his Asian friend for shelter at his hotel, and we have to fight and do that. Then we have to, challenge the Marquis guy to a duel, and we have to go to our family, and we got to get our family to accept us back again. But then we got to go complete a task by, killing the fat guy. And then we kept having to just do different, and it felt like we were just going through a series of, we got to do this. And for me personally, I guess not losing sight of the objective because everything was getting us there. But I don't know, for me, we were just too all over the place with the story, in my humble opinion. It was just like, okay, we gotta go do A, B, C, D, then we gotta do E and F. And in order for F to help us, we gotta go jump and do G and H. And it just felt like we kept doing a lot of things, but it was all very entertaining. It was all very well executed. I just personally felt like, okay, we doing a little too much as far as the story and the objectives for John Wick, in my personal opinion. Now, like I said, the one thing that I truly, truly love about the John Wick universe are the characters, and we really got some amazing ones. I already spoke about the Marquis. We still have Winston. We have the Bowery King. Now, that would be another little gripe of mine is I wish we got more of the Bowery King, because I just really love that character. I just love Lawrence Fishburne. I love the Bowery King character, and I love that Lawrence Fishburne, Keanu Reeves dynamic. I love them together. I wish Keanu Reeves would actually talk. But I wish we could have gotten more of the Bowery King. But, he served his purpose. We had a lot of characters to introduce and to see and to follow. So I get it. It was already a 3-hour movie. But I just personally wish I would have gotten more Bowery King, just because I just really like that character, like I said. We also get introduced to a lot of new great characters along with the Marquis. We end up getting introduced to Nobody, who John calls a tracker. And now, I don't know if I just missed something, or if I'm not smart enough, or if the movie didn't explain, but I feel like there was a lot of mystery surrounding Nobody. Mystery is fine, but the movie ends and we still have a ton of questions when it comes to Nobody. Number one, extremely enjoyable character. He had a beloved dog that I love dogs. Like, I'm with John. Like, I'm finna wreak havoc and kill everybody about my motherfucking dog. But I really, really loved his dog. That dog was it was so crazy how that dog was one of the most savage in the damn movie. But he was also so sweet. I think it was a he. Was it a he or a she? I don't know, child. But because the dog does lift his leg to pee on somebody, but my dog is a girl and she lifts her leg to pee, so that don't necessarily mean it's a boy. Like, girl dogs lift their legs. But I really thoroughly enjoyed Nobody. I loved his introduction with his dog when he goes to the Continental over in Japan. And y'all, where were they at? I keep saying Japan. I saw the, what are those Japanese flowers called? Dang, I can't think of the word, but y'all know what I'm talking about. The Japanese flowers. A lot of the decor and everything, it was giving me Japan, but I don't know what it was, child. I can't remember. But he goes to this Continental, and the lady at the front desk tells him that we don't allow animals at this facility. And he says, oh, it's a service dog. She's like, oh, no, he said service animal. And she's like, oh, he's your service dog. And I love the way Nobody was like, no, I'm her service dog. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. I love his dynamic with the dog. Child, if I'm an actor, just give me a dog co-star. Like, let me just have a co-star that's a dog, like they did Old Boy. But anyway, I love his introduction to John Wick when he's like, hello, Johnny. I just really thoroughly enjoyed his character, and his character and dog kept coming in at the right time to save John Wick. So they were very pivotal, because you can't, of course, and it's no gripe. I mean, obviously your main character is going to have a bit of plot armor. I mean, it's a main character. If he died, the movie over. But to, I guess, add a little bit, in there to make it a little realistic, we have to add this character who can aid John, because he can't just survive every single motherfucking thing, even though he survives every single motherfucking thing. But I don't have no issue with that. None. Some people may feel like it gets a bit unrealistic, but child, it's fine. He be dropping off a 30-story building, and I'd be like, all right. However, some issues I have with the Nobody character is he seemingly consistently can find John, which I guess can be explained by the fact that he is a tracker, right? I guess some type of bounty hunter in some shape, way, or form, which may also be why he has the dog. But he has this book that he's looking at that keeps consistently leading him to where John is going to be. John has a close friend who is over this Continental. All John friends own a Continental, child. But anyway, but I was like, where did he get this book from? Where did he get this information from? He seemingly wasn't involved with the table because he goes to meet with the Marquis wanting to get involved with the table. And Kane, the blind guy, says, you know, don't make any kind of deals. Like, I feel like I don't want to be in business with the table, child. But he seemingly wasn't attached to this world. So why you here? What you know about John? Like, if you're not in this world, which presumably everybody involved with this world is under the table. They are already involved in this, but he seemingly wasn't. But there was just a lot of unanswered questions and mystery when it comes to the nobody character. But the movie was still great. He was amazing in it. I really loved his character. I just wish for a little more information. And when he first meets John and he saves him, it's because the bounty isn't high enough, right? But he ends up saying something to John like, now we're in this together. And it seemed to me like he was alluding to maybe they had some type of history. And I kept feeling like that would be revealed. Because I was like, nah, no, you ain't John Wick, like long lost son. But it felt like he was alluding to the fact that him and John maybe had some type of shared past or something. I don't know, child. That's what it felt like they were alluding to for me, but we never got any answers on that. Now, some other characters that we have are a father and daughter who John goes to the father who owns this or runs this Continental. So the father, y'all, I'm so mad. I cannot pronounce the actor's real name and I cannot pronounce his character name. I'm just country black folk. Like I'm just a country person. I can't pronounce his name, but I really, really loved his character and his daughter, Akira. I want to say what's her name. My sister's name is Kira, so I feel like either I'm remembering it because she shared a name with my sister or I'm mixing it up and thinking of my sister. But I want to say the character's name was Akira. And she was the concierge here. Her dad was the one who runs the hotel. And John is here at the hotel, child. And she doesn't know it at first. And she tells her dad about what happened to Winston's hotel and how the table is likely going to come for them next. And the dad seemingly is just child shooting the breeze. He don't really care. He ain't really worried. And we end up seeing him going to the rooftop, and there is John Wick, of course. And just as this is happening, next thing you know, folks from the high table come in, and we have this Spanish guy who is another one of our like main goons that are going after John for the whole movie. Oh, he was pissing me off, child. I was like, I need him to die, like especially when he tried to kill that damn dog. But anyway, so they end up coming in asking for the manager. So of course she has to go get her dad. And this is when she sees John. And this is when we get, y'all, seriously, one of the greatest action sequences. This was so freaking good. First of all, I love all of the locations and backdrops. Like, we have these amazing freaking fight sequences and choreography, but all of this action is happening in some of the most beautiful locations. I mean, even when Winston goes to see the Marquis, when he goes to him about the duel, they have this giant freaking awe-inspiring artwork. Everything just literally looks so good. I know whoever was doing the set design, baby, they had a time. They had the time of their life. It all looked so, I mean, every single solitary scene just looked good. And as much as I'm a huge horror fiend, I would say action for me is right up there. I absolutely love action movies. However, I cannot stand the way they are filmed half the time. I hate, oh my God, one thing I really hate is shaky cam. Oh Lord, I hate shaky cam. I maybe have seen it utilized well, maybe twice in my lifetime, but I cannot stand shaky cam. And I hate the way they will film action sequences where you be trying to like figure out what the hell going on. Wait, whoa, it was a headlight. What? I hate that. And one thing that I really love is how you have all of this great action. There's so much going on. People are fighting. Things are going on. And you can see everything clearly. It is happening at at a freaking speed of light. I don't know how the hell niggas be moving that fast when they be fighting. But you can clearly see what's happening, who fighting, who throwing punches. And that is one gripe that I have with action movies. And I look, the John Wick franchise has set the standard and raised the bar. And for me personally, the best action movies in the last 10 years outside of Mission Impossible. Like Mission Impossible and freaking John Wick are keeping action movies mother freaking thriving and alive, and showing you this is how it is done. And we are also introduced to Kane, who I did speak of a little bit. Oh my God, y'all, absolutely love this character. Absolutely loved it. I loved all the characters. I'll just say that now so I don't have to keep saying I love this character. So we are able to get pertinent information about Kane and his character motivations without having to do a long drawn out thing and take away from our main objective and action and everything. So pretty much Kane kind of is in a John Wick situation where he has seemingly retired. He does not want to work for the table. However, he has to fight for the table because he risks the life of his daughter. So pretty much the table gives him a name. He has to obey or the table will kill his daughter. A life for life, which is what the marquee continually says. A life for life. Either John Wick's life or your daughter's life. And I love the way this was set up where John is our main character. That is the character that we root for, but seemingly you're also rooting for the quote unquote bad guy, right? You're rooting for the person that is going up against John because I ain't want nothing to happen to Kane. I was like, how can this end in a way where Kane can sail off into the sunset and John can as well? I did not want Kane to freaking die. And he was fighting for his daughter. Kane was freaking amazing. And that is one thing that I love with this movie is, especially as an action fan, you pretty much get everything you could possibly love about action movies, right? With a badass woman fighting, check. Tons of different weapons, check. Different fight styles, check. You literally just get everything you could possibly want to gorge on in an action movie. Violence, brutality, it was insane. And we get this sequence. First of all, I love a good sword fight. We got that too. When I was mentioning a ton of different weapons, literally anything you could love as an action fan, you pretty much got it in John Wick Chapter 4. So I also loved how they set up the movie where Kane actually had a friendship with John and the manager of this Continental, right? But now he has to fight against them. But then throughout the movie, there are moments where we have to fight side by side. So we're pretty much against each other, but then we have to fight together at different moments in the movie. And I loved that dynamic. I loved the way it played out. Now, he was in there with the Spanish guy, right? And he's over there eating a bowl of food. And the guy's like, are you gonna do something? And he goes through and he's putting these, they look like the Ring doorbells. And I thought they were explosives. I'm like, no, he ain't finna blow that mug up. He in here. No, they were doorbells. So that every time one of the other goons would walk past it, it would signal so that he could know where people were at. So pretty much like Daredevil and any other blind person that you see in a movie, they go off their other senses. Obviously, they can't see, so they go by sound. So every time somebody would be ringing one of them doorbells, child, just such an amazing sequence. Then we get to the point where Akira, the manager's daughter, her and John are fighting, and there was a great scene where she is fighting this big ass. It was a lot of big. Let me tell you, child. It was a lot of big ass men in this movie who all look like they had pretty much the same body type. But when I tell you, I hope these stunt men got the payday of their life. Like they better have been motherfucking paid, because this ish was phenomenal. But she's fighting this huge guy, and I love this point where she's like climbing and riding on top of him with these knives. It was so amazing. I loved Akira. I loved her. I would have loved to have gotten more of her. I love a female fight scene. Well, I love two women fighting, like badass, but I just love a woman fighting in my action movies in general. And she was absolutely brilliant. I loved her character. See, you know, I don't be too hard on the characters these folks be creating, because this is how you create characters. And like literally, I could just sing every character's praise in this movie, no matter what side of the line they were on. So we end up getting to the point where her dad it's her and her dad. She has been shot. Her dad has been shot. We're trying to limp out. We're trying to get away. And baby, here come Kane. God damn it. I was like, God dang. So this was funny to me though. Kane pretty much don't want to do this. And he's telling the hotel manager, like, you know, walk away. Like, don't do this. And when he says, I cannot do that. When I tell you, his daughter looked at him like, nigga, like she looked at him like, excuse me. But he ends up having this exchange with Kane, and Kane is like, why are you even doing this for John? It's not like he has a marker on you. And I love how Kane was like, how far have you fallen to think that the only, you know, I guess loyalty would be if someone has a marker? So he's staying true. He is riding for his friend John, and they end up having this amazing sword fight, which her dad loses and he dies. And of course, she runs to her dad and she goes to pick up the sword, of course, to avenge her dad. But Kane is just like, no, don't do it. Just live. And she's obviously hurt, which I hate that her dad went into the fight hurt, but she's obviously hurt. And the smart thing to do was for her to walk away, which she does. And we end up seeing John also fighting his way out of here. And there are moments in the movie where Keanu Reeves is fighting folks, and it seemed like, you know, it's kind of like, you know how you see action movies and you got 50 goons going at one person, but they all seemingly just go one-on-one instead of everybody jumping on them. It's kind of moments where John is fighting like hundreds of goons, but people kind of take a pause or don't grab a gun or like give him a second, give John Wick a second to kind of catch his breath and do something. It takes you out of it a bit. Not a big deal. I kind of feel like, I'm not even sure most people would notice, but I did notice there were like kind of breaks and pauses where like the goons he was fighting would kind of take a second. Because there was a lot of moments when I was like, you could have kind of had to drop on him. Like, well, you had to drop on him. And there was moments where I'm like, you could have got John, but it kind of give him a little breather. So at one moment, John is about to get got by one of the goons, and nobody steps in and saves him. And we end up on a train, and somehow John and Akira are on the same train, and she pretty much tells him, either you kill Kane or I will, because he killed my dad. So nothing seemingly comes of that, because the movie ends and we never see Akira again after this train scene, and Kane survives the movie. So, and there was kind of a finality to the end, which I feel like it's going to be a chapter 5, child. I don't know if it's going to be next year or in 10, but I feel like we're going to get a chapter 5. So hey, maybe we'll wrap up Akira and Kane then. But with her giving that either you kill him or I do, nothing kind of comes of it. Like I said, we don't see her again for the rest of the movie, and Kane survives the movie. Now we end up seeing Nobody meeting with the Marquis. Kane is there as well. Like I said earlier, telling him not to make any deals with them. And this is why I'm like, This is why I'm like, Nobody was not involved with the table. I'm not sure his motivation of wanting to be involved with the table. Obviously, I guess you would say it's the motivation of the bounty that is on John. But if you are not an assassin and you are not under the table, you are not in this world, how could you possibly know who John Wick is and know that he has a bounty? And how are you allowed as a guest of the Continental if you're not? Y'all, was I just not understanding what was happening? Because I feel like if you're a guest of the Continental, you have to be under the table. But when he came to meet with the Marquis, why did it feel like he wasn't? Okay, maybe I'm just not getting something. So either he was an assassin already under the table, but he was coming to just strike a deal with the Marquis. Is that what happened? And I just didn't get it. But anyway, he comes to meet with the Marquis and pretty much saying how he can find John, and he's making a deal for a certain amount of money. And they make a deal. And his dog is there with him. That Spanish guy that I said, one of the main goons, is there as well. And the Marquis ends up stabbing Nobody in the hand, and he has to kind of, get his dog to chill because, of course, if a dog see they person hurt, they finna attack. It ain't even gotta be one of them trained dogs from 3 and 4. Just a dog in general, typically, if their owner is in peril. But he, gotta simmer his dog down because the Spanish guy has a gun. He had an itchy trigger finger when it came to this dog. But anyway, now the Marquis tells Nobody, you can either pull the blade out or pull your hand out, and that it will show him if you are somebody that is dedicated to the cause or only to yourself. Now, child, I was confused on which was which. Like, which one means what? Pulling a knife out or pulling my hand out? Which one means I'm dedicated to the cause and which one means I'm dedicated to myself? But I pretty much gathered, I was like, he about to pull his hand out. Like, I wasn't clear on what each one meant, but I just felt like he finna pull his hand out. And he does. He pulls his hand out. But I'm just like, I would never want to get in bed with the table because they seem to be shiesty. Why the hell you just stabbed me in my hand? And then also later he reneges on their deal. And it's like, how can people who are seemingly all about rules break the rule? Whatever, child. Because he reneged on their deal and ended up they had to strike up a new deal or whatever. Now, Winston ends up giving John the idea of a duel with the Marquis. Now, in order for you to have a duel with the high table, you have to be a part of a family. John's family sits at the table, but as we saw in the previous film, when he is excommunicado and he goes to that little theater and they rip his ticket, he doesn't have a ticket anymore, which apparently means he's no longer part of that family. So he goes to try to be a part of the family again, and they end up giving him the task of, because of what he did to the elder, the high table came with repercussions, and the young lady's father was killed, and she wants him to go avenge the father, and then he can be a part of the family, right? So he goes and meets up with Wilson Fisk. that was the vibe. He was reminding me of Wilson Fisk from Daredevil. That was literally the vibes. And he gets there, and Kane is already there, and Nobody shows up, right? So we have Nobody, Kane, and John versus Wilson Fisk and all his goons. When I tell y'all, amazing scene. Every scene was most amazing. No scene was not amazing. But look, child, it got a little absurd. Okay, we got a little absurd. Now, Wilson Fisk has this nightclub, right? Obviously, we probably end up knowing it's a shady nightclub. But y'all, the fact that niggas was in here slicing each other up with axes, people dying, fighting, and literally standing right next to John Wick as he fighting. Like, literally, and I was sitting here like, I was literally in the theater like, this is so dumb. I felt like that was so dumb. Like, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? Like, it's no way that you are literally 2 feet away from niggas fighting to the death and you just... Y'all, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And it was kind of reminding me of that scene in Man on Fire when Denzel go to that club and he's shooting the gun and people just woo. Cause they like so high out of their mind. But I was like, come on now, child. They were literally fighting to the death for like a good 10 minutes. And niggas was just doing a butterfly, doing a whoop. Like, I was like, come on now, child. This for me was so absurd. I was like, come on now. This was ridiculous. But anyway, it was actually a really amazing fight with John Wick and Wilson Fisk. Cause Wilson Fisk, you know, this is a big dude, but he was moving faster than I can, child. This was an amazing fight. And that is one thing that I love about the John Wick franchise, even though obviously the character of John Wick is going to have an absurd amount of plot armor because you have to. This character, the main character, has to. But I love the fact that he is not completely infallible. He gets hurt. He gets beaten down. Wilson Fisk was beating his tail. One thing that I loved but simultaneously thought was ridiculous was the fact that Wilson Fisk goons came out fighting with axes. Love the axe fight. But baby, why is my goons walking around carrying axes? Like, that seemed a little ridiculous. Like a gun, you know, you put that in a holster, stick it in your pants. It's easy access, easy to move and carry. But how are we walking around carrying axes, bro? Like, that don't seem very practical. But anyway, John ends up fighting all the goons off. We finally beat Wilson Fisk, and I literally called it because as they were fighting, my mom was like, well, what is he going to bring as proof? Because his family wanted proof that he killed a guy. I said, I bet you're going to take his gold teeth. I thought he was going to take the whole row of teeth, but he just pulls out one gold tooth. So he gets to go be made a part of the family again, which the ritual was crazy because they freaking burned like a huge burn on their arm, John and the young lady who was, you know, inducting him back into the family. First of all, girl, how many burns you got to get? Like, do you have to burn yourself every time you induct somebody into the family? Or is this just a process when you in the family, then get kicked out, then you got to come back? Because presumably, maybe you don't do that too often. But then the fact that as the movie progresses, John ain't got no kind of bandage on that burn. Them burns should have been infected. Why the mug ain't bandaged? But anyway, so John goes to this meetup where we set the rules for the duel, right? And this is when we find out that the Marquis, as cutthroat evil as he is, he a punk. He was scared to have to do a versus with John Wick. He ends up, they have a situation where you appoint a second, which of course for John was Winston, and we have terms. Winston gets to, you know, get his hotel rebuilt and get all his little terms in there for what he want to do. John gets his freedom. But we have been told time and time again in the franchise, this is who you are, John. You only get freedom in death. So they kind of have foreshadowed that it ain't no peace for the wicked. Like, the only peace for John will be death. But seemingly the terms are that John will finally get his freedom from the high table. And they have a situation where we pick the time, we pick what, you know, the weapon, and we flip these cards to see who is the one that gets it. So we get sunrise and we get a gun draw. Now, the Marquis, when I say we find out he a punk, he ends up, he has Kane as his second, but he sets it up where Kane is the one that has to do the verses with John. And I did not like that because I was rooting for Kane throughout the whole movie. Like, okay, I know it's Kane versus John, but if John could beat the Marquis in this duel, maybe Kane will be free as well. But no, we had to put Kane into the duel. So John has to fight Kane. Now, we end up where John goes underground because the Bowery King got hobos all over the world. And they get John one of his armor suits. Which, child, let me tell you about these suits. The suit being armor, bulletproof vest suit, great idea because it helps with the absurdity that action movies have where your main character gets 1,000,000 bullets shot at them and they never get hit. John gets 1,000,000 bullets shot at him, but he gets hit. When he goes to take off his armor suit and you hear all the bullets falling, he gets hit. So I like this idea. However, every time the characters take their suit and take their hand to put over them to block the bullets, baby, hands should have been shot. I literally can think that in every John Wick movie. Every time he take his hand to cover himself with the suit, I be feeling like your hand should have got shot, bro. But anyway, we end up with this amazing sequence. We are in Paris and John has to fight his way through the streets of Paris to get to this duel. He spent all night with the Bowery King underground. Now we have to fight to get to this duel, get to this church. Now I could have sworn the Bowery King is like, you got a few blocks. Baby, this was the longest few blocks in the history of the world, but this was so... Oh my, y'all, I mean, there is only one movie in my entire life that I have seen in a movie theater twice, and that was Live Free Die Hard. For me personally, even if I love a movie, baby, I ain't finna pay to see it in the theater again. Who got money for that? No, I'm not giving y'all more money. John Wick, though, I need to see this again. I have only seen it once at this point. I need to see it in the theater again because this stuff was so insane, so amazing, definitely worth me going to see it in the theater again. Now, he's fighting through the streets of Paris. And at first I was like, nigga, why is you walking through the streets? You know niggas is after you. Now we have this scene where this girl is on the radio and she's telling everybody, you know, about the bounty and John Wick and he been spotted on this street and you need to get him and it ends at dawn. And I was confused like, okay, do nobody but assassins listen to this radio station? Like, what is this? It was cool, but I was annoyed because I was like, why y'all ain't showing this lady face? Why is we only looking at her lips? I want to see her face, which obviously is incidental, but I just wanted to see her face. But when I tell you, John Wick had to fight. He already had to fight 100 goons at the hotel and all through all this stuff, but he had to fight like hundreds of goons through the streets of Paris. It was so amazing. When I tell y'all, John done been thrown up goddamn buildings. He done been hit by, how many cars was he? He was hit by 4 or 5 cars. Not Kane. Why do I keep wanting to call nobody Kane? Nobody, his dog shows up fighting in the streets, and I was about to get mad. Because that Spanish man threw that dog against the car, but the dog was okay. Dogs are resilient. He was okay. But I was mad at first because I thought something happened to that damn dog. But anyway, we fighting, and one of my favorite scenes is when John finally gets into a car and he's having a shootout with a group of goons as no doors on the car, and he is literally circling the goons having this shootout. Y'all, it was so amazing. Every mother freaking angle, all the shots, oh my God, y'all, my head about to explode. It was so freaking incredible. I mean, I feel like I have never seen anything like this in my entire lifetime. Like, this was a moment. Like, this movie in itself is this is one of those movies where, baby, everything about to shift around. It's like, all right, Mission Impossible, I'm looking at you, child, because you coming up next later in the year. Y'all gonna have to bring it, because this ish was, now Mission Impossible be bringing it though, child. They be bringing it. No, Fast and Furious is coming out before Mission Impossible, so y'all better bring it. I love the way everything in this movie, from the action to the set pieces, the style, the artwork, everything about this movie is so over the top and so absurd and so grandiose, but in like the best way. Oh my God, like this fight through the streets of Paris was mother freaking insane. And then, so you know, John has his armor suit, his bulletproof suit. So we get a group of goons, and they was getting these bullets and stuff together. And I was like, are they finna come with like armor piercing shells. Baby, they had these. I'm mad I cannot think of the name. I think it was something with dragon something. But they had these bullets that literally mother freaking explode, child. We have one of my favorite sequences in this movie. And baby, a movie this good, it's hard to be like, oh, that was a favorite. But this was literally one of my favorite sequences where John is in this house and we get this aerial view from above. John gets the goon's gun, which has this dragon exploding bullet. And you literally see from above him going through the rooms, just shooting this exploding bullet at niggas. Now, I did have a gripe. The goons, the ones with these exploding bullets, but John is the only one using it. Nobody I was like at first, we ended up using it. But I was like, if y'all don't shoot John with y'all exploding bullets, but y'all let him shoot y'all with the exploding bullets. But this scene, y'all, they gonna have to teach this scene in schools. Like this, y'all, oh my God, I need to see this again so bad. Just that aerial view. It's the way they shot it from above. The way this was literally for me. I'ma say, I don't know, for me. I done seen 11,000 action movies, child. I spent my childhood watching horror and action. I done seen movies that most people around me never even heard of. But I am going to say this exploding bullet scene was probably one of the greatest action sequences I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, I mean, my jaw was on. Like, I was just like drooling. Like, it was like, this is one of those movies where you never want to take your eye away from the screen. It just, every moment was so amazing. So John is in here as well as Nobody and his dog, and we're fighting to, through this building. Now, Nobody has made another deal with the Marquis, and I want to say it was 30 million, and he's trying to kill John now. And I love the way how I have loved all the characters in the John Wick franchise, love the bad guys, but there was never really a moment outside of the twins where I didn't want anybody facing John to not die. I really did not want Kane to die. I really did not want nobody to die. I feel like outside of the twins, this was one of the only times. Okay, I was trying to think. Yeah, this is one of the only times where I did not want the opposing people to die. So Nobody is finally facing off against John. And we have a moment where the Spanish guy is fighting with Nobody's dog. And he is about to get a kill shot on the dog. He's about to shoot the dog. John has a kill shot on Nobody. But instead of shooting Nobody, John shoots the Spanish guy to save Nobody's dog. Which obviously, you can't kill him now, bro. He saved your dog. Now, we end up finally at the church for the duel, but baby, it like 200,011 million steps that John Wick gotta climb. Oh, and also, one of the stipulations with this duel is if John Wick doesn't show up for sunrise, then he is forfeit, and him and Winston die, child. So that time crunch is on here, and y'all know I love a ticking clock in the movie. I love that pressure that it adds. So we get another amazing sequence where John is fighting all these goons up the 11,011 million stairs, right? Amazing. And then, the Spanish guy show up again. I thought he was dead when John saved the dog. But no, he pops up again. And when I tell y'all, he ends up fighting with John, and John literally falls down. All that progress we made getting up the steps, John falls all the way back to the bottom. And at that point, I'd have been like, F it. Like, I would have been like, it's over. I give up. Sorry, Winston. I'll see you in the next life. But this is when Kane shows up. And we get this sequence of Kane and John fighting their way up the steps. Now, I will say, as I was watching it, once Keanu Reeves falls down the steps, I did feel like, man, why are we finna do this again? I felt like it was going to be really repetitive. Y'all know the hell it wasn't. It was so amazing. The first time he's fighting his way up those stairs, and me thinking, oh my God, it's gonna be redundant. Why are they finna do the same thing over again? No, child. No, the hell it wasn't. Kane and John Wick fighting up them stairs that second time was freaking amazing. We finally take out the Spanish guy. And the thing that was crazy was we're sitting here waiting for the duel to start, and we can hear the motherfucking fight. So I kind of feel like it ain't fair if he would have missed the deadline. Like if I'm Winston and y'all gonna kill me, cause baby, y'all can hear him trying to get here. But anyway, so we finally get to the duel, and I actually really love how they did this because y'all know the thing that I typically love is that third act climactic sequence. I love that, and especially in the action movie. You know, the action movie, you typically are fighting your way through goons, and then you have this final showdown, right? And usually it's really big. But I love how we got all of this huge action throughout the movie, and that final showdown was actually not as grandiose. It was just a simple, like, Western style, like gunfight. And I love that. It was so intense. It was so much tension. I was like, oh my God. It was Kane versus John with this gunfight. And I love how they did this. But I was mad because I don't want either one of them to die. But somebody had to die. So I'm sitting here like, baby, one of them gonna have to die. But it's also tragic for Kane because if he died, his daughter died. Because that was his deal, you know, with the marquee. So we're having a gunfight. We walked out these paces. Then we have to, when we don't do a kill shot, we keep coming paces closer, right? So we end up shooting. I want to say the third round. John gets hit in the gut. He falls down. Now he ain't out for the count, but he pretty much just about down, right? So this is when Snake ass, punk ass Marquis decides to step in. And with each round, your second had to come hand you a bullet. So John is down. He does not get handed a bullet, which I don't know how that was fair. So the Marquis gets his bullet. But no, y'all, John did not shoot that last round. He still had his bullet, and he takes out the Marquis. Love this so much. And it was so risky because it kind of relies on you hoping Kane don't get a kill shot, but you also had to time it in a way because John played the Marquis. First of all, the big thing with his character is his arrogance and that he a punk. So you had to go a set amount of rounds and end up in a position where you seemingly were down for the count so that you could get the Marquis to step in. Oh, y'all, I love this so much. Now, at the end, though, when John getting that gut wound, we end up seeing the Bowery King and Winston at John's grave. And I immediately, my first thought was, John not really dead. Is John really dead? For one, the ending does have this sense of finality to it. But just how movies do, and especially movies that make a lot of money, you know they're going to come back. So I'm like, we don't see John die. We don't see John dead body in the coffin. All we see is a headstone. That's it. Tombstone or headstone? Y'all, what's it called? Is it a tombstone? Whatever, the thing at your grave that say your name and your date. And he was next to his wife, and it said loving husband. And he had that conversation earlier in the movie with the Bowery King and Winston about what he would want on his headstone. He just wanted loving husband. But I'm feeling like, is he dead or is he not dead? Because we don't really see him die. Like I said, we don't see him in the casket. All we see is the little headstone, tombstone, whatever it's called. That's all we see. But I feel like it's gonna be a chapter 5. Now, they did a lot of ish, so we may be years out from it, but there will be a chapter 5. I just feel like it is. I feel like it is. Now, I already mentioned just a few gripes I have with this movie, but also when we getting into realm of unrealistic doesn't bother me with most movies, honestly, but particularly action movies. But along with the absurdity of how unrealistic that club sequence was for me and some other stuff, also when we're fighting through the streets of Paris, we got car crash after car crash after car crash, bullets shooting, like it's literally like a freaking world war that broke out in the streets of Paris. Baby, we ain't got not one ambulance, we ain't got no cop. Like, it was just, it got way too absurd in my humble opinion. Also, with the mystery of the table, that's fine, but I feel like we ended with too many unanswered questions when it comes to Nobody. The mystery of Nobody is perfectly fine, and I liked it, but as the movie progressed, I feel like, and maybe that's just me, maybe that's just my gripe, I just feel like it really irks me that I don't know where he got that book from, how he's tied into John, what is he doing here? Like, it's just too many questions surrounding him for me, but overall, this literally was probably the best time I have had at the movies this year. Second best time was probably Plane. I really enjoyed Plane, but for me personally, so far this year, I haven't been like blown away and like, oh my God, I haven't been really over the top in love with any movie so far this year, new movie. Child, this did it. This was my favorite theatrical experience. And honestly, this was my favorite theatrical experience in a really long time. As big as I am into movies, the past like 10 years, I've been feeling like I'm over the theater experience. I'm starting to feel like with all the technology these days, you can have surround sound in your house. You can have, the greatest picture and the huge TV screens in your home. I feel like, and I'm not one of those people that care about like IMAX and we have a screen. Is it in Orlando? I can't remember, but somewhere here in Florida where it's like the biggest IMAX screen. I don't know. I just be feeling like, man, I don't care about that. This movie has made me change my tune. This is definitely the movie for the theatrical experience. I am so glad that I saw this in theaters. I mean, y'all, I can't, the neon colors, the artwork, the clothing and costumes, everything, the action, y'all, that freaking dragon exploding bullet sequence. I feel like you could watch this movie on your cell phone and it's going to be an amazing movie. But this is definitely a movie that makes me change my tune when it comes to movies belonging on the big screen. Like, I don't know, I always kind of get annoyed when people say this is the way movies should be seen. I be like, child, I got a pretty big TV. Like, you got surround sound these days in your home. Like, I be feeling like you can have a great movie experience at home, but child, this movie done made me change my tune. I am going to give John Wick Chapter 4 a 7 out of 10. Love this movie. This for me is literally, I don't know, like Mission Impossible, Fast and Furious. Y'all gonna have to come with it. Now, Mission Impossible, I know y'all gonna come with it. I haven't seen the Fast and the Furious movies in years. I feel like I missed like the last 3, but y'all gonna have to come with it, child. Y'all gonna have to bring the mother freaking action, the absurdity of it all. Gonna have to be brought absurd in a good way, child. I absolutely love this world that we get a peek into in the John Wick universe, where it is the absurdity of it all. Absurd in a good way. Where literally, like, 69.72222% of the population is an assassin under the table, child. Like, literally the way that people be in the streets of New York and streets of Paris, and then all of a sudden they get a cell phone alert about John Wick, and it's like, maybe everybody an assassin? It's so ridiculous, but it's so amazing. But I can see how if you're one of those people where you like movies that are very grounded and feel very realistic, a lot of the stuff in this movie can probably be a gripe for you. But I love that. I love stuff like that. Like, I'm not that person. Now, it can get a little too out of control, but for the most part, it's a movie. So I'm fine with a bit of like unrealistic, and I feel like your main character having a bit of plot armor, and not even a bit, just like in absurd amount of plot armor, that's never a gripe for me, because I feel like you have to an extent, because that's your main character. Now, baby, you give a lot of plot armor to some side characters, I'm gonna feel a little different. But your main character, child, they gotta survive, or they no movie. Baby, John died, the movie ends, roll the credits. So there has to be an absurd amount of like, these goons can't really shoot. These goons ain't really good. Anytime they be like, the table is going to send their best, I be like, y'all best ain't very good, because y'all niggas can't really get John Wick. He one man, child. So yes, it gets a little absurd, but I'm perfectly fine with that. Especially when you deliver on the action, and they deliver, child. They deliver. But you know what? I also want to know if the table came for Sophia. Because they're coming for everybody that has aided or helped, and she really aided. She aided John. So did the table come for Sophia, child? Thank you so much for watching this video, for supporting the channel. Let me know in the comments, what did you think of John Wick Chapter 4? Are you like me, and are you feeling like this might be the best action movie? Okay, I ain't gonna say that. You know what? Retract that. We ain't finna set that in stone. Let me sit with this movie. Let me see it. Let me see the rewatch value. But I'm feeling like that's the best action movie. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.